Hi lovelies, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you are returning. My name is Candy, and today, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about today's video. What I'm going to do, I am going to show you some really incredible pairings that I found from my trolley. Look, you can see the top shelf of my trolley there is suspiciously empty, because what I did with all those autumn decks that I put onto the trolley, I spent an evening last week pairing them, finding like really good pairs, and I've put them back on the trolley in pairs. So that's the first thing. I cannot wait to show you some of the pairs that I found, because they are beautiful. But I got so excited about that, I thought, are we actually missing a trick with our tarot practice when we pair our decks? Because I am always looking for new ways to love and enjoy my tarot and to get the most out of it. So like, I'll take my decks out on adventures, which you see me do. I'll do quests with my decks, like with the Sheila and the Gigs. I will do soul quests or soul stories with my decks. I'm always looking for new and interesting ways to work with them. And I thought, is there a message in the pairing itself, like the energy that the pairing gives off before we've even started pulling cards, that can give us pointers for things that we can do with our tarot readings once we get the pairing out to work with it? I think a lot of us trust in the energy of the decks we pull. We give our decks different voices because of the different energies in the deck. Surely if you're putting two decks together and there's a connection there, there might be a message even within the connection of where we need to go, or of a new project we could do with the decks, or even a spread or some journaling prompts. Letting the energy of a pair of decks speak to us before we get to pulling cards. I've never seen anybody talk about this, and then it made me think about the way I read books. Now, the way I read books, I've literally just grabbed a handful of books that are around me. These I've read, what I've reread, so that's why I've grabbed these. Now, for decades now, I write in my books, so if you don't like that, then forgive me. But one of the key things I do is, if there's something in a book that I think is beautiful or jumps out, like the energy of a sentence, or like a beautiful line of words or a few words together, if I read something really beautiful and it makes me clutch my heart and think, oh, that was beautiful, I will underline it and I'll put a T in a circle in the margin for title, because I think it could make a good title, either for writing or a poem or an artwork. Normally I use it for my ideas to start art projects, but it's something that inherently catches me with its beauty and its energy to form a title. So I'm just going to flip, look, immediately, look, T there, and I've underlined, well, I've underlined a lot. This is because it's Eckhart Tolle. What have I underlined? Goddesses who go within to battle, destroying the mental phantoms. So I liked that idea of destroying mental phantoms. That gives a lovely energy for what could be a series of artwork. If we're thinking about tarot decks, it could be a series of spreads. It could be a whole project around exploring what our mental phantoms are. But it is a title that just jumped out from the page at me. Have we got any more in here? So, I mean, it's not the things that I've hearted or the things that I've underlined and made notes of. I use the T in a circle purely if I think it's a title, and I'll do it in all my books, whether it be fiction, non-fiction, kids books. If something jumps out at me and I just think it's got the energy of a title, that's what I do. Look, here's one here. You can see a T in a circle. What have I underlined here? The faint whisper of rain, the tender note of solitude and perfection. Like, you could do a whole series of artworks there based on water and rain and soundscapes and the tender note of solitude. What a beautiful title that could become a whole series of either poems or writing or artwork, or tarot projects. You can see where I'm going with this. Georgia O'Keeffe, this is a fantastic biography of Georgia O'Keeffe. Let's see, have we got any T's? Yeah, there's a T there. There's two T's. What are those two T's? The first one, I've underlined the words the docile pattern, and the other one I've underlined is the weakening of social patterns. I've got another T up here, which is the phrase never turn your hand over. I put things like this. I love I have conversations with my book as I read, and I just can't read without a pen. Look, there's another two on here. Look, there's one up here with a T, and there is a T hidden in here. Those two are not one woman reluctant and grieving, and then the other one is adrift in an alien landscape. So they're just ideas for titles. Women Who Run with the Wolves, I know that this is going to be full of them. I've literally turned to this page, T, and it says, his beard isn't really that blue. So this is the lessons from the story of Bluebeard and his new wife trying to stay in her naivety. And the sisters say, look, even his beard is blue. Can't you see, like, the red flags? And she's saying, well, his beard isn't really that blue. At the time, I was just recovering from a year-long relationship, the only relationship I had after my divorce. And oh my gosh, that resonated so much, because I'd picked a carbon copy man and my entire system was in shutdown trying to warn me about the red flags, and I was desperately clinging to that phrase, his beard isn't really that blue, desperate to try and make it work and ignore all the red flags. And you'll see that that actually did turn into a piece of artwork called His Beard Isn't Really That Blue. So you can see, like, the way it works for me. Can I get a way to show you this that isn't in the light? So this is a piece based on the story of Bluebeard. You can see the key hanging in his beard. I've got an octopus in the beard as well, which was my trauma recovery animal, and the dyeing room where he had all the bodies is actually a climbing wall, because that was his favourite hobby, and all the bodies are hanging from the climbing wall. So this was a healing piece for me, but the idea came from titles, and I thought, why aren't we doing this with our decks? Why aren't we, when we find pairs where the energy is screaming at us, why aren't we then just brainstorming titles? Just like, if this deck combo was a brilliant line in a book, or if this deck combo was a painting in a gallery, what would the title of it be? And I thought, I'm going to brainstorm some titles around these deck pairings and see if it opens up any other pathway for having fun with our decks. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you the top basket of deck pairings. So I will probably do another deck pairing video, but in this video we're going to give it a go and see if we can use energy titles from our tarot decks. Let's just see where it takes us, because I don't know about you, I always want to find ways to have fun, get creative, and to be on adventures and quests and creative schemes with my decks, things that will benefit my soul. So let's give this a go together. So the first pairing that we're going to do, we're going to look at this one, which is the Tapestry tarot deck, and we are going to pair it with the Literary Witches Oracle. I thought this was such a interesting pairing. I think the cards are just so lovely. So you can see this one is kind of like sort of draped fabrics to make these sort of fabric images, and we've got kind of these spell ingredients and then these different people here, and I just loved these two together. It's kind of very witchy. You're almost like in the forest here, walking up to, say, a witch's cottage, or you're like underneath these sort of draped fabrics as well. You've got the draped fabric of the tablecloth there. You've got ideas of sort of ghosts and magic mirrors there almost, and again like these faces underneath this fabric. It's all like very draped fabric, very witchy. This almost reminds me of Hansel and Gretel here, but it is such a lovely combination. You've got the gloves mirroring the wands there. Again, you've got houses with house there. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that synchronicity. I love this idea of like sort of walls in here and protection, all these daggers as well, and these things around these figures. It feels like you're in like a very protected space. Again, you've got a wall there. You're in a place where the symbols mean something, where magic is happening. That's what it feels like. You know, you're on the edge of the wood, but there's things going on, there's things laid out. Feels like there's ceremony, there's ritual, there's magic going on. You've almost got like a fairy tale feel there of Snow White. So it's very magical. It's a bit eerie. There's trees, there's walls, there's houses, and there's lots of magic coming out of this pairing. So that's the first pairing, and I'm going to show you what I did, because what I've done with these pairings, as I was flicking through those initial cards, I literally brainstormed any titles at all. There's no right or wrong answer with this, that kind of jumped into my head. So the first idea that jumped into my head is that idea of the witch's cottage. So that went down as a title. And then on the edge of the forest, a lot of those combos were kind of screaming like you're about to walk into a dark forest and there's a witch's cottage in there somewhere, and like be careful of what magic you're disturbing on the path. All those walls as well, I put the title In the Walled Garden, and then I changed that to Voices from the Walled Garden. Then all of this drapey fabric in here, like you can really see it on this card. It reminded me of being a kid and making blanket forts over chairs. So I couldn't get that image out of my mind. So I put the magic of the blanket fort as a title. And then all of kind of these homes, look, it's very homely, but there's all this magic going on around it. So I put in the Town of Protected Homes as a title. And then the last one, When the Doll Talked. So these are very doll-like, but they're alive dolls, and in the literary witches as well there are dolls as well. So it almost feels almost like Frankenstein-y, where the dolls might come to life. So that was my last title for this, the energy coming off this pairing. And the next thing from this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write on the top of here what the decks are before I forget them. From that, I am going to brainstorm. Let's think of some themes that are coming out. So we've got walled gardens, we've got cottages, we've got blanket forts, which are about like being underneath and being protected. We've also got protected homes. So there is a protection magic coming out of this as a theme, and also home protection as well, because even like a blanket fort is a kid's home, isn't it? And like a fort is again another version of a walled garden. And then you've got sort of so witchy homes. There's almost like a aesthetic element to the theme of this. So immediately I'm seeing that you could use these two tarot decks within like stepping up the protection of your house, like asking the tarot decks for questions, or if you want to change the look of your house, like talking to the tarot decks about that, all to do with your home. On the edge of the forest could be an adventure, so let's get an adventure in there. Go to the location, go to the edge of some forests, find some forests in your area and use this deck on the edge of the forests. you don't know what might come out of that. The witch's cottage as well could, if you've got a doll's house, could you pull cards around the different rooms of the doll's house, and it's almost like sort of a miniature shrunken version of a house. So you could use a doll's house for these cards this week, especially with that idea of the doll talking. I mean, that would be the Tiny Soul Whispers of dolls, which is what I do on my doll channel. So using this with like your creepiest dolls, putting a doll there, is the doll whispering anything as well. You could do doll meditations with the cards, like choosing a doll or finding a doll and like path working with the cards with the doll. You could do spreads about like magic from childhood, so the magic of the blanket fort. So magic from childhood, what do you still have? What have you let go of that you might need to reclaim? What new magic from childhood could you bring in that you might have forgotten? Like, what's stopping you and what's the next best step? You could do loads of spreads around like exploring the magic of childhood that's still within you. So almost like a walled garden of your psyche. So exploring what's inside any walled gardens that are in your subconscious. So that's like reclaiming magic. So I'm going to put that here as well. So within that just very quick brainstorm, you can see that just from the energy of the pairing of the cards and finding titles, we have a whole series of exciting new ways you might be able to work with that pairing emerge, which the cards themselves have dictated. Does that mean you can't just do your general card pulls or your week ahead spread or your card a day spreads? Of course it doesn't. You can still do all of that as well, but it might be nice to even file this away somewhere as like a pair that you've done this with, that if at another point in time you want a bigger project to explore with decks, you've got it. It might be that you do all your card pulls for the week and your week ahead spread, and you take on one of these in addition to that. It might be just a nice way of doing it. So run this, say, over a month if something jumps out at you. I think finding the titles hidden within the energy of pairs, it does open up like a whole voice of the decks that we might have been missing not doing this, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, let's find another pair from the top tray of the tarot trolley to do this with again. Okay, the next two decks, which I am super excited to have found this pairing, is the Deviant Moon Tarot, really great for this time of year, I think, with the Magical Spirit Oracle, the Brilliance of You. I think you can see straight away that the colour palette of these two is just, oh, it's so fantastic together. So let me get these decks out and show you what they look like together. They are so fabulous. So that's what they look like together. Again, it's sort of very magical. You've got moons as well in this. You've also got lots of eyes and secret plants and different things like that. You've got these secret creatures as well. I mean, it is just so lovely. This is very much based outside, as is this deck as well. There is a call to the personal as well, because it focuses in on this figure, which I think you read as yourself when you're working with this deck just naturally. But there is a beautiful sort of magical, mystical place. It looks like a realm that you can't get to that often, like a realm that you have to travel to through the stars in a teacup, a bit like Peter Pan. It feels like you get to this place perhaps under the moon. It's only accessible at certain times, and once you're there, you've got all sorts of messages that can come in, like nature can speak. This deck is full of like stars talking, or the elements talking, or like secret caves opening up, or some books becoming to life, and flowers and fairies beginning to talk. It feels like you have accessed a place where you can get answers, and like the magic will come pouring in. It's like a secret land that you've accessed at just a certain time of the day, and I just think, oh, it just looks so lovely. Look, here is a flower with an eye beginning to talk to her, and like the moon sending messages down, which is so brilliant with the deviant moon, like trees coming to life. Perhaps she accessed the land at midnight through the tree, whereas this one accessed the moon at midnight through a red rose she picked. I just love this combination. You've got changes of scale as well in here, like giant mushrooms and giant flowers, and there's something weird going on, and it just is perfect together. So what titles did I brainstorm literally while I was just flicking through, like I've just shown you? I put In the Moonlit Forest, because it does feel like we're in some sort of magical forest land, or magic in the shadows. There's like a magical portal somewhere, or you know, if you just go out at moonlight and go to the shadows, you'll find some sort of magic somewhere. Hidden places, that idea of the world that only shows itself every so often. Uncovering the invisible. So it really is about accessing a place where it's not normally visible to us, like that idea of the magic place. My woes beneath the moon I put, because a lot of those women are telling their problems to the flowers. And nighttime garden magic, like if you just stepped out under the moon, what might you find there? It's a whole nother different world. So those are our titles. Like I say, quickly brainstormed. Like it literally took me a minute to brainstorm those as I did my initial flip through. Let's think of the themes coming up here. So hidden and uncovering the invisible. It's all about secrets really, isn't it? So uncovering secrets, or portals, or finding what's hidden. Nighttime as well. So nature at night. And because it's at night and we're under the moon, my woes beneath the moon, it could also be used for shadow work, because you're going out into shadows. So straight away, the first thing that I would want to do is to go out into my garden at night with these decks, like to set up somewhere to sit under the moon, say for a week, and just to see what happens, see what messages come through with these tarot decks. I would do spreads about what's hiding in my psyche or your subconscious, and spreads to like make it visible. What portals are available to me right now to completely transform the world around me, or what other worlds are there within my grasp that I can just grab hold of. I might do dream work with these decks, like put them next to my bed and pull cards before I go to sleep, and then see what I dream, and immediately on waking pull more cards, because nighttime and hidden realms feels very dreamlike, doesn't it? So there's loads of ideas there again for what you might use these decks for, as bigger projects, or like month-long studies, or like taking them out on adventures alongside your ordinary card pull. The next two decks are two beauties. We've got the John Bauer Tarot. I think my version is the one that came with Total Tarot. I got this in my local metaphysical shop. And the beautiful Thistle Down Oracle. Again, they're both so perfect for this time of year. So I just thought that these two might be really interesting as well to put next to each other, and just see what titles we get jumping off the energy of these two. Where are these two going to take us when it comes to the titles that the energy gives us? So again, you've got something very like fairy tale like. You've got caves and the idea of nests, almost like a lair. You've got fairy tales and like kingdoms and her looking out from the edge of the kingdom. Again, you've got the magical woods, you've got lairs again like bear caves, you've got somebody creeping into the woods, perhaps going into the cave with treasures. You've got all the fallen leaves. You've got somebody looking out and dragonflies flying past. It's such a beautiful combination, isn't it? You've got somebody chasing after the king. You've got leaves flying by, howling as well. So loads of these sort of woodland creatures, woodland magic, but with these fairy tale characters, some looking like they need to escape, some looking like they're on the edge of something. It is just such a beautiful combination of decks, I think, with these two. So my titles that I brainstormed for just that little flick through was, the first title was Take Me to the Fairy Tale. Then I put On the Edge of the Kingdom as well. Nature and the Princess, so you've got a princess archetype coming in there for that one. Treasure Hidden in the Woods is another title. Carried Away on Dragonfly Wings was another title. In the Creature's Lair was another title. Howling for the King, and then Wishes on Leaves, and Within the Magic Jar was another one. And honestly, if you want to try this, please don't get hung up on this. There really is no right or wrong answer. Like with the Tapestry Tower, the very first thing that jumped into my mind was blanket forts. So that was one of the first titles that I wrote down, that idea of a blanket fort. So whatever jumps into your head is what you're getting from the energy of the cards. I mean, even if you have to flip through a few times and then reshuffle and flip again, just go from what's jumping into your head, and you'll end up with titles generated like this. So we've got our list of titles. Let's see if we can brainstorm something around that. So Take Me to the Fairy Tale. Do you know what? I would say straight away, bibliomancy. Could you spend a week working with these decks and finding fairy tale books and using bibliomancy with them? It's actually asking you to please take me to the fairy tale and use that as well. Let's have a look. On the Edge of the Kingdom. So that was from like the cards where people look like they're on the edge of something or looking out from a castle. What about if we spent a week like drawing a map with the cards, like asking for the cards for the next location in your personal map? What does your kingdom look like? Like, where are the turrets of trouble? What's on the edge fighting to get in? What's in the magical woods on the edge of the kingdom? What's the castle made up of? Where is the castle breaking? Where is it doing really well? Are the boundaries safe of the castle? You could literally spend a week drawing spreads about different parts of the kingdom. Like, are there any buildings that I've forgotten? And like, you could end up with a map at the end of your week. How fun would that be? Treasure Hidden in the Woods and the Creature's Lair. Again, you could ask, like, you could find your creature. What is your creature in the lair, in the woods, and what magic is hiding there? So what might it be protecting? That might be a lovely spread for you. Howling for the King. So I would want to know who is the king. I would go on a search, just like here, go on a search for the mythical creature. I would want to know who is king. That could come into the map as well. The king's chair, who's on the chair, who are you howling for, and like secret desires. Wishes on Leaves, oh my gosh, that's magic right there. You could literally write your wishes on leaves and use the tarot to help you decipher what your hidden wishes might be, and then burn them, say on a full moon, and let them disappear up into the universe, put them out into the universe. And again, the magic jar as well. This is all coming into wishes, it could be goal setting. That seems to me like using the tarot within your magic practice, if you have one, like to actually make a magic jar full of your wishes. You could burn the leaves with your wishes on, then put the ash into the magic jar. Can you see, like, just a very quick immediate brainstorm? There's loads of beautiful additions to your tarot practice and ways that you can use your tarot that you might never have thought of without this. Okay, have we got time to do another pair? I think we do. So we've got the Hush Tarot now, and in this bag we have the Brian Froud Fairy Oracle as well. This is another gorgeous pairing that I was super excited to find. I don't think I've even been showing you the backs, have I? So these are the backs of these two. Again, we've got a beautiful autumnal palette on both decks, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Now with this, there is very much the idea of death and decay and things like lost in the undergrowth. It kind of feels like ooh, sort of, if you dig down into all of the decaying leaves, what might be underneath those leaves, you know, what's hidden down low, like under the water or under the tree or in amongst that decay of an autumnal forest going into winter. It does feel very much like death. I've heard other people say this feels like almost like a zombie deck. You know, you've got decayed leaves and insects trying to stay alive. Again, you've got things sort of underneath the leaves. Both of them feel like a place where you really would find fairies, but fairies that you have to watch your step with. This reminds me of that tree circle I found in Wales where Rupert started acting weird and we had to get out of there fast. It's that sort of energy, so like tree circles and approaching the fae with real care. There is something quite sinister, I think, about this combo, but I think sometimes finding a pair with that energy is fantastic. But I think it's a pairing that you'd have to watch your step with, be respectful working with. But I think, I don't know if you agree, I think the pairing of these two is absolutely, completely sublime. So just before I put the camera to play again, loads of orbs were floating across the top of the screen. It just goes to show that once you get the Brian Froud out, all rules are off. So what were my initial title brainstorms from this pairing? You can see I wrote them down here. So the first one is in the undergrowth. It just does really feel like you've burrowed down under all those fallen leaves. And then with that idea of fallen leaves, again, I've put the falling. That might be a nice title to play around with. Beyond the mirror, I mean, this just feels like again, it's like that portal into another world where things have shrunken down, almost like if you've stood too long in front of a magic mirror and it's sucked you through, and that's just a title that jumped out at me. Again, I want you to see that there's no right or wrong answer to this. You just go with what jumps into your head. If it's jumping into your imagination, then it's meant to be there. Pulled down as well, there's that idea of like the hands coming through the soil and pulling you down, like birds covering you over and the roots of the earth dragging you down. I think that's why this deck in particular does feel like death. And then you've got these strange fairies here that feel like sort of ethereal beings that you might meet after you've died. There is that idea of being pulled down to another world, like being buried. Leaves as lives, so we saw that insect on the leaf trying to float away, and there are like leaves always falling off. Like each leaf, what life did it have before it ended up in the undergrowth? It's the same as you. What versions of you were there? So leaves as lives came into my mind. what I found at the base of the tree. I kind of imagined myself in this other world. I'd been sucked through the portal of the mirror, and I was sitting by trees, like wondering where on earth I was, and then like looking around and finding messages and answers at the base of trees. I loved that idea of what I found at the base of the tree. I mean, this could be what you found. She found a dead bird, or a dead bird and a live bird. Like what you found at the base of the tree. What is this? It's a grenade with a bird pulling a pin out. Like what you found at the base of the tree, something that's going to blow your entire world apart. And there's a whole audience watching you. And then the last one, I really wanted to use that word decay, and so I put in decaying memory. So this might be like your dreamscapes or your memories, things that are just out of reach in your bank of memories somewhere that you might want to unearth. They're like fluttering over your head trying to be called back. Like this shrouded figure has got a crystal ball. That idea of recalling memories is in there as well. So this is the kind of energy vibes that I got from this deck looking through. These are the titles. So what might I do from this? So because there's mirrors and crystal balls here and decaying memory, I might do some scrying or some mirror magic. Or if I've got a crystal ball, which I don't, you could do crystal ball work to try and unlock memories. You could go out to, you could like pinpoint some trees in the area that are famous or some favourite trees of yours and take your deck to the base of the trees. So go on a tree adventure or go for a walk around your neighbourhood to find new trees and to research them and to pull these cards at the base of each to see if you get like a story come through. This could be an art project. You could draw a tree and write down the stages of your life. We all, I think, look at our lives and can find chapters, and you could put a chapter on each leaf and then pull a tarot card for each leaf. That's almost like mapping like the key lessons from each life that you've lived. Pulled down, this could be shadow work, like trying to do spreads around what you think is pulling you down, like what's burying you, what's the bird that's sitting on you, what's the root that's dragging you, what's the dirt that's going over your coffin lid, what's the reason that you lay down to start with. That might be a really nice spread to do with this tarot deck. Like this here as well, the falling, you could devise a spread with the title The Falling. Like what things do you trip up on and what could you do about it? What things in the past have made you fall on your face, what you could do about it moving forward. Just really nice spreads around that idea. And in the undergrowth, again, like what's under the surface with these falls. So I think naturally out of these titles you've got kind of an unearthing of the secrets that are going on that might trip you up, that might make you start to decay or lose your memories of who you actually are. And you've been put out under the base of trees. It's just full of the energy of this pairing. So lots of ideas there. So that's it, guys. I'm going to stop there because this video is already, I think, over 40 minutes long. I'm going to stop there with just those pairs. It was just a way to show you what I'm thinking of with these tarot titles and where that could take your tarot practice. I'd love to hear what you think of that, whether it's something you think you might try. Tell me in the comment section. I'd love that. Of course, I've still got more pairs I'm desperate to show you. So I will be doing another autumnal pairs video just to show you the pairs for the decks. But for now, tarot titles and brainstorming, would you give it a go? I'm definitely going to give it a go. I'm really excited about this. And happy tarot practice, guys. Have fun with it and let it take you on adventures. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.